Welcome to this week's TDD Weekly Report for the week ending December 28th. This first article is sent from my friend Harry T. This is called the skin gun. Now, in the past, when people had burns over large parts of their body, there was this week-and-a-half process of where they were trying to grow new skin to replace the skin that was damaged. And during that time, people could die from infection, and it was just the horrible disfigurement too of having to do skin grafts and different things like that. Well, this is a new idea where a guy actually takes the skin cells from a person's body and mixes them in a solution and sprays it onto the burned area, just pretty much like a paint gun, just spray painting it on you. And the results, at least from this video that I see with one person that had this done, is rather remarkable. I'll show just a little bit of the video with this, and then I encourage you to go and watch the entire video on YouTube.
And the reason why people die is because of infections that develop while we're waiting for the skin to heal.
How are you doing pain-wise?
Pretty good.
Okay.
So if we could find a way to get normal, healthy skin, as much of it as we want, within a week, that's the holy grail in burn surgery.
George Gerlach thinks he's found a way, but he'll need a gun.
We call it a skin cell gun, a device for the deposition of skin cells onto the wound.
It looked like something you'd see in Star Wars.
This is Matt Euro, state police officer from Pennsylvania. He's one of the first people to be treated with the gun.
I attended a July 5th party at a friend's house, and there was a small bonfire. I was standing next to the bonfire, and an individual decided to throw a cup of gasoline on the fire. The worst part was my face. It was the whole right side of my face here, my ear, my neck, and my shoulder, and the entire top part of my arm.
Next up, this is an update on the Curiosity Rover. If any of you have been following the Curiosity Rover, you realize it's completed its first primary mission. It explored an area that may have been in the past habitable to life. It explored an extinct Martian lake, and now it's on its way to Mount Sharp. It's going to be about a 6-mile, 10-kilometer journey, but along the way they've been taking some shots, close-up shots with real high-resolution cameras of the rover's wheels, and they've been noticing the damage has been occurring at a little bit more of an accelerated rate than they've expected. Now, just to fill you in, the skin of the wheels themselves is made out of aluminum, and it's very thin. It's like 0.75 millimeters thin, so it's less than 1 millimeter, and it's sustaining quite a bit of damage, some dents, even some holes all the way through it. I'll put some pictures up here to show you. I don't see this as being really an overall problem for the operation of the rover itself, as you can see by these pictures too. The treads itself, the zigzag part that gives it the grip and gives it the traction, doesn't seem to be sustaining hardly any damage at all, and the skeleton underneath the skin of the wheels themselves seems to be pretty substantial. Also, you got to consider the fact that they may have chosen this thin of an aluminum for the skin just to be able to test it's a good scientific experiment to test how sharp and how strong the rocks are themselves and what the soil is like by making it purposefully that thin. And I don't see this really as impeding the rover at all, as long as the bearings and the mechanism and everything like that can turn freely under power. It's been on its journey and accomplished its primary mission, and they said sometime in the middle of 2014 it'll reach its destination of Mount Sharp, and I'm sure between now and then I'll be able to give you quite a few more updates of anything that's going on with the Curiosity Rover besides. Next up, this is from my friend Jason, and I'll put a little bit of the video in of this too. This is kind of cool. Usually as we get more and more into technology, we get more and more into virtual worlds. Well, this is kind of going in the opposite direction, where you're reaching out from the virtual world into, by remote control, into tangible touching of objects and handling objects. And this is kind of cool. I think it uses a system on the one end, kind of like the Xbox Kinect system, where it actually takes your hands in space and translates them into movements, and then on the other end there's this device with the actuators and the rectangular pins to where you can interface into the real world remotely. And it's kind of cool, and you know, they're talking about using it maybe for teleconferencing where you have a real presence in the room or something like that, and it's kind of cool. In this, the guy actually handles a flashlight and turns it on, so you know, I think it's just, if nothing else, just the cool factor of this makes it something great, I think. And next up, from my friend Mick, this is a company called Dynex in Victoria. They have come out with a piston design that eliminates the piston rings themselves. Now, one of the things that gives an engine a lot of extra drag and friction and cuts down on the kinetic power is the fact that they use these piston rings that have spring action, and they actually conform against the size of the cylinder walls. But because they're shooting to try to get as perfect a seal as possible, you introduce friction, you introduce drag, and you lose energy on the engine. You produce heat besides. Well, these engineers have decided you can actually live with a less than perfect sealing system and still get a good enough sealing system, and then you also have the advantage of pretty much frictionless travel of the piston up and down. So less kinetic energy lost, less heating of the engine, may lead to the fact they're actually building an experimental boxer type of opposed engine, but you may even need engines with less size of a cooling system because of the fact that less friction, less heat produced. So weight savings besides efficiency might be a pretty good idea. But anyway, hopefully that may be a new advance to where we can still live on. I keep thinking that we're getting really close to the death of the internal combustion piston engine, and maybe an engineer can turn up an idea to breathe some more life into it for a few more decades. Still seeing the long term, electric cars is a real solution, but if we can improve the efficiency in significant bounds and get more efficiency out of what gasoline we have left, all the better, I think. As usual, all the links will be down below. And just before I sign off on this week's show, I would like to ask a favor from you guys. As you make your comments down below, could you give me a little bit of information? Typically towards the end of the year or the beginning of the next year, what I've been doing in past TDD shows is I talk about software that I've decided to use for my computer, like what browser I prefer to use, what type of video editing software I use, etc., etc. Well, I think we're almost reaching the point to where, with my viewers being so technologically savvy like they are, I'm suspecting that maybe more than 50% of my viewers don't even use the internet by a computer, more of a tablet, smartphone deal like that. So if for some reason you use more than 50% of your internet time is used and spent using a tablet or a smartphone rather than a computer, laptop, or desktop, let me know below, because I can use that as maybe a change of direction for TDD reports in the future and see what's more significant to my viewers and what's less significant. So if you can think about that, leave a comment below and let me know. So take care, everybody. That's it for this week. I will catch you next week.